Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We haven't even said anything yet. I love it. Love the energy. My name is Isabel Tuez, and I'm part of the AR/VR enterprise team here at Facebook. I'm really excited to talk to you today about Oculus for Business because I really believe that immersive technology is going to be transformative for companies. And it's really going to change the way that we all work. I don't think I'm the only person in this room who feels that way, so I love this room. Today, I want to kick things off by sharing with you some of my thoughts on how enterprise VR is adopted, the magic of it, but also the hardships of it. It can be hard sometimes. What we call the journey of enterprise VR. Then, we want to talk to you about the product that we've been working on. I'll be joined on stage by my colleague Matt, and he's going to go into tons of details. Before we leave, we're going to share a little bit about two specific programs that we're working on that will launch next year. Okay, so let's get started. In the past year, we've been really digging into the way that VR is being used at work. How are people in real teams at real companies using immersive technology? How do they find out about it? How do they make the decision to invest in it? We spoke to a ton of employees, we spoke to learning and development managers, we spoke to people who had to set up the devices, we spoke to CTOs, we spoke to developers who actually build the software. And more, we had this kind of big unspoken question in the back of our minds. We asked ourselves, do people really want VR? And the answer is, they do not want VR. Not really. Legally, I have to say not really. But people do want the powers that VR gives them. It is a new technology, and it's enabling people to do things they never could do before. So let's take training as one example. VR training is a use case that's seeing some early traction. And according to ABI research, it's a market that's going to grow to $6.3 billion by 2022. That's only 3 years away. That's not that far. We've already seen some top companies like Hilton and Nestle are already diving in. You heard from Johnson & Johnson Institute this morning. And they talked about Also VR, who's a developer that's really been at the forefront of training. They provide a tool for surgeons to be able to simulate surgeries, kind of like this one. With Also VR, doctors can feel like they're really in the operating room, that they're doing the work instead of just reading about it or watching a video. These surgeons don't want VR. They don't want a new hardware that they have to learn, but they want to feel ready when they have to actually do the operation in real life. And VR is as close as it comes. The statistics show that it works. Compared to traditional training methods, Also VR is seeing a 230% improvement in performance. I know, this statistic is so wild that I actually have to show you my favorite video right after because it's unbelievable. So you can watch it for yourself. Here is a video of two people that were trained only for 1 day on a surgery. The person on the left has been trained in traditional methods with text and videos, etc. And the person on the right with Also VR. Now, watch them both go. The student on the right is already more than halfway done. You can see he's doing everything by himself. Knows what tools to grab, knows exactly what to do. And he finishes in 6.5 minutes. And now the guy on the left is going to continue. He asks for help all along the way. You can see that he needs the trainer to come by and remind him, okay, this tool is for this other one. I'm not that mean. He will actually finish it. He will. But it takes him almost twice as long. And these kinds of results, they're really not that rare. We often see that VR training can outperform any other method. It's no wonder that technology enables you to do things that you couldn't do any other way. So for example, with Also VR, you get to learn by doing, right? You're actually feeling like you're building muscle memory of this operation. And because there's no limits, you get infinite redos. You can just practice and practice and practice. Maybe one of the most important things that VR can bring you, especially in a life-saving situation like this one is that you have really high stakes, but you don't have any of the risks. Now, these are some of the superpowers we can tap into for VR training, but it applies to other use cases as well. One of my favorite use cases for VR is collaboration. Gravity Sketch, which is a design tool that's used by Ford and many others, has in the past year been developing co-creation so that several designers can actually sit and work on a car together. It looks a little bit like this. In a shared space, they're actually designing together, refining their work, and offering each other live feedback. It doesn't matter how far their offices are. When they're done, they can send this designed object on to the next team, to their engineers, to actually apply the rest of the workflow. There's no more translating from 2D to 3D. Can you imagine how much quicker that is? Well, you don't have to imagine it because I'm going to show you. Michael Smith from Ford tells us that a process that used to take his team months now only takes about 20 hours. And that's, I think, because for the first time, you have the time efficiencies of not having to jump into each other's offices and work together. You can just put on a headset. You also get to not translate 2D to 3D, but you actually get to take the metadata of the 3D with you. And lastly, one of my favorite is that you can actually instantly collaborate with each other. Especially with Quest, you can just put on the headset and all of a sudden you're sharing a physical space virtually. Shay, one of the co-founders of Gravity Sketch, said something I really liked. He said, engineers and designers, they don't often speak the same language, but everyone speaks 3D. I really like that. These are some of the powers that you get, what we call the VR superpowers, that make this technology something that companies want to adopt, even though they don't really want to learn new hardware. And they're just some of it. We actually worked hard to create this list, right? Muscle memory is something that you get with VR training, same as unlimited redos. And with Gravity Sketch, we saw you get some powers like time efficiencies and instant collaboration. But the truth is that there are more. Companies also get to save money by not having to have employees travel from one place to another. Maybe one of my favorite things that I heard from employees is how much confidence they feel suddenly having the knowledge because they've done something before. And of course, we know that VR can let you live in someone else's shoes and understand what their jobs are like. That brings a lot of respect to the workforce. These are all the reasons why companies are adopting VR. And this is how. This is a headset. I didn't draw it, but it is. It has to get inside of company walls in order for it to do its jobs. Companies have to actually help employees connect with our hardware in order to be able to use the software and feel the superpowers. So we're going to go on what we call a little journey because these headsets have to get into the hands of the employees. So we go through what I've learned now is actually a pretty common enterprise journey. With any new technology, the same thing happens. You have to make it through an adoption cycle in order to see the returns. Let me put it to you this way. If you have made a game, you actually just have one person to convince to buy it or download it. But in enterprise, it's really different. There's a number of decision makers that you have to convince along the way. And the returns are much greater if you do. So today, we're going to walk a little bit through this and show you just how long that list can be. Now, every journey starts exactly the same way, from what I've heard. It starts with an opportunity. There is one person within the company that sees the VR superpowers and understands that there's a chance here for the company to do something in a new way. We call this person our internal VR champion. I think everyone here is probably familiar with a few of these, hopefully. I think of them as the sidekick to this entire journey. They'll be here to help you along to make sure that things don't stall out. They might have gotten into VR because they like games, or maybe because they tried it at a conference, but they don't really have the budget and green light to do everything by themselves. This person will be really instrumental to our adoption. So I'm going to put them over here in what I call our stakeholder box. This is a good box. This is the list of people that have to buy into the product in order to get full adoption. You'll notice there's a lot of empty space, so we're about to fill it up. Okay, so we've identified an opportunity now, and next, we have to do something that is called demo and education. We know how important demoing VR is in order to get people to want to purchase it. It's the same with games, and enterprise is no different. And here, our internal VR champion is going to meet another person. They're going to meet a business owner. Now, this is not actually the title of anyone specific, obviously. This might be a learning and development manager. This might be someone in IT. For Ford, it might be a head designer of a team. The important part is that they have a problem that they need to solve, and it's hopefully going to tap into one of the VR superpowers. So we move this person over to our stakeholder section, and we keep moving. Now we get to the proof of concept. This is where we start to earmark a budget so that we can trial things internally. In the first stage, we saw the magic of VR. In the second one, we saw that VR could be useful, but this is where it actually becomes relevant to the team. And this is where my favorite person comes in, not objectively at all. This is our enterprise developer. So this is everyone here in this room that's making amazing software. And if they haven't been involved up to now in this journey, they now are going to be extremely crucial. They have expertise in how to make great VR, but they need the support of the rest of the company, including the C-suite and directors. And it's a complete coincidence that this person looks like me. I didn't request that, but I like it. Now, the C-suite, they have a desire to help the company innovate. They want to see impact. They have to see the numbers. And what they will need to see in order to get buy-in is ROI. Now, at this point, we want to move them over to our stakeholder box. But we actually cannot do that unless we get one more person on board. Any guesses? Legal. Oh, that's tough. I'm not even involving them. Okay. The IT administrator. Who here has run into this person? Yes. Okay. The IT administrator is actually can be extremely helpful. This person can be your best friend. They can also be a very bad enemy for you to have. Their needs are peace of mind and to keep the company safe. They have the ability to say no, and the C-suite will listen. Okay? If the IT administrators don't want a new technology inside of the building, it will not come into the building. So we're going to move them to our very important stakeholder list. But in this scenario, they love the proof of concept. It's showing early ROI. So we move into perhaps the most pivotal of all stages, which is the pilot. Okay, in our pilot, this is, if you walk out of here with nothing else from this entire journey, it's this. When you start a pilot, make sure you understand what are the KPIs, what are the success metrics that everyone in this stakeholder list needs to see in order to continue on the journey, okay? Here, we're going to meet our last stakeholder, and this person is the actual end user. Up to now, you've really been showing the demo, the proof of concept, and getting people used to the idea. But now you have a final stakeholder, and this is the person that day-to-day is going to feel the VR superpowers. So don't forget to understand what it is that they like about a software and what they like about VR. That completes our list of stakeholders. Then we're going to move a little more quickly on to early deployment, where you see a ton more people joining. Now we have employees going. Now we have a lot more business owners asking, what's going on? Can my team use this? It's great. It's a party. Then we get to full deployment. Now you have more headsets. You're helping to manage way more teams, more employees. And this is where it gets really great because these people's lives and jobs are being affected by VR. I love seeing this. I love talking to people who are in this stage. And the last stage is expansion. This is what we've seen at companies. Once a few teams start to use it, you're starting to see other teams that think it's really interesting. So those are all of our stakeholders, and this is our journey. This is the stuff that we think about. How can we make this easier? How can the adoption cycle get easier and easier for everyone involved? I know, it looks like a lot to take on, but you're not alone. Matt is going to walk you through how our product can make this easier. Thank you.
My name is Matt Terrell, and I'm a product manager on the AR/VR enterprise team. And it's my job to build tools that make it easier for you to get through this journey. So we just saw what the journey looks like, and it can feel a little bit like climbing Everest. But with the right tools, you can think of them as being your Sherpa on the way to the top. So when we think about our product, we think about it in 3 pillars. The first is that it has to be scalable. The second is that it has to be professional. And the third is that it has to be reliable. And the Oculus for Business solution ticks off many of these boxes. So let's dive into the first one, scalability. You saw how complicated this can get as you expand the number of people who are involved. And whether you're doing this for 3 headsets or 3,000 headsets, this should all be a seamless process. And as you're looking from 3 headsets to 3,000, the number of challenges that pop up along the way increase. And that's why we built the Oculus for Business solution. It comes in 3 parts. The first is the Android device setup app. You use this for setting up your devices when you get them out of the box. The second is the Device Manager web portal. This is where you'll be configuring all of your devices and managing them along the way. And finally, the most important part, the experience in the headset that employees and all of your stakeholders will experience to find the vision that you have for VR in the workplace. So let's dive in and talk a little bit more about the device setup app. So I don't have to say to this group, but you guys have all experienced what it's like to set up a consumer device. You first get your box, your Oculus device from Best Buy or wherever you purchased it. You register your account with Oculus, and you're on your way. You've now established a connection between your account and identity with the headset. You do so by creating an email address and going through all the account creation steps. Doesn't sound so bad when it's just 1 headset. But have you ever done this for 3,000 headsets? And that means that you are creating 3,000 email addresses for 3,000 accounts to map to 3,000 headsets. That's Matt Terrell at Gmail. That's Matt Terrell1 at Gmail. Nobody's trying to hear that. So the first thing we had to do is we had to break that relationship. With the device setup app for Android, we created a way that you can create a company account. And you can add administrators to that account. So now, instead of creating dummy accounts for each one of your headsets, you can establish a relationship of ownership with 1 company account to many headsets. See? There we go. That's someone who set up a VR device. So with the device setup app, the way it works is you log in using your credentials, and the setup app is going to connect to each of your devices over Bluetooth and provide them some Wi-Fi credentials and establish the ownership of your company to that device. And once that's done, you're off to the races. So this is where stuff gets really exciting, because now that you've set up your devices, we can talk about what it takes to manage those devices. And this is where the Device Manager web portal comes in. So here you can see what that looks like. You have all of your information in one place. Think how excited that IT manager is going to be when you can see all of your devices in one place, which ones are active, what operating system they're running, are they connected to Wi-Fi, what's the battery level, all in one place. The idea here is to make device management easy and something that you can do at a glance. The other feature that we're really excited that comes in the Device Manager solution is grouping devices. So think about a use case where you might have devices scattered around different offices, or maybe in different departments. And each one of those devices might have different apps. This is a way that you can actually set the configuration of all of these devices at scale. You can put devices in group, and instead of having to change each one of them one by one, you can just change the configuration of the group. This can be particularly powerful as you think about scaling up deployments and you get to a world where you're actually shipping multiple devices to multiple locations. So now that we've actually grouped these headsets, it's now important to think about who's actually going to manage them. People management is a big part of device management. You want to make sure that the right people have the right access to device settings. And this is something that we thought about with the device manager solution. You want to be able to easily add the people necessary to manage those devices because at the end of the day, people are what make this solution work. Now, right now, we're focused on making sure that the right folks in the customer site are involved in the management of devices. But very soon, you're going to be able to invite people from different areas of the deployment scenario. Think people like your developer or an independent service vendor or anybody who is managing those devices on your behalf. And that's something that we're really excited about. So the next piece of the puzzle, now that we've grouped devices, we have people to manage the devices, is how do you actually get content on the devices? And I don't have to tell people in this room, content is what makes everything go. Without content on the headset, you can't really do anything with it. That's why we wanted to make sure that folks in this room have the most flexibility when getting content onto the headset. We provided a remote install channel, which allows you to provide the location of where an application might exist, whether it is on a customer server or with a developer server. And what you can do is you can enter in that information, and the headset will go fetch that application from wherever it exists. That means that you have the flexibility to host applications in different places. That's something that your stakeholders, including that IT administrator, will think very highly of. The other thing that you can do when you're adding applications is also customize how you configure those applications. You can add things for more security, like a hash. Or maybe you want to customize different launch intents for different groups of devices so that they can actually load experiences into specific places based on what the use case is. All of that can be done in the device manager solution. We've even thought about situations where you might even need more customization. You might need to integrate this more deeply into your current workflow. So we've thought about integrating with mobile device management partners like Mobile Iron and VMware so that you can do some additional things like provisioning a certificate so you can get onto enterprise Wi-Fi. There we go. Certificate Wi-Fi. Love this group. So now that we've talked a little bit about what makes it scalable, we'll talk a little bit more about what makes it professional, because it needs to be professional in order for it to be compelling in an enterprise environment. So let's talk about what actually happens in the headset. So as you can see here, we've taken an approach on the current home environment that you see in the consumer headset, and we've streamed it down quite a bit. We've redesigned the menu tray in order to remove any distractions that employees and end users might have. Things like your friends lists and sharing back to Facebook, and all of these things don't need to be there. You really just need a list of basic settings. The other thing is we've streamed down the enterprise launcher. You only want to see the apps that you intend for your employees to see, and you want to be able to launch into them quickly and seamlessly. And if that's not fast enough, you can also kiosk mode into an application and launch into a specific app directly. You can also make sure that the pause menu is less complicated, so you restrict any inadvertent exits of the application that could slow you down. Now, what if you have a set of settings that you don't really need your employee to be able to have access to, but as an administrator, you actually do want to be able to configure some of these things, if need be, on the fly? We've created admin mode, which allows you, with a pin that you set up in the device manager solution, to get access to all of the settings you might need. The other thing that we've thought a little bit about is how to actually continue to reduce friction in the VR experience. The reality is many of the people who will be entering VR are going to be doing so with the first time, and they might not be gamers. We all appreciate gaming. We're all here at Oculus Connect, and so on some level, we understand the genesis of where VR came from and where Oculus came from. But that's not necessarily true about all of the employees that will be interacting with training, and maybe game controllers will be a little bit confusing and actually be a barrier to getting through experiences that you create and ultimately get trained. So we've created controller-free mode. which is an intuitive way for you to actually look at a button or an interaction point within an experience and simply click the volume buttons to interact with that content. You don't need controllers, and that might actually speed up the time it takes for you to get through experiences. But what if that's not enough? We announced on the keynote stage hand tracking, and you'll be able to actually see this demo on the demo floor. But hand tracking is another really awesome way to create an intuitive environment for VR. It's important to remember that not everybody is going to be a gamer, but everybody has hands, or many people have hands. And they can actually use their hands in VR experiences. The thing I love about this video is that every once in a while they stop and they look down. It's like, oh my God, these are my hands. And that's something that is an experience that's really cool and we can bring to people all over. And so hand tracking is a way that we continue to push the boundaries of what VR can do and how you can actually bring more of yourself into VR. That's how we can get access to these superpowers. Now, we've talked about the cool stuff around what's scalable and what's professional, but again, none of this matters if it doesn't work. And enterprises care a lot about making sure that this works. They have to make sure that it works, and it has to work, and when it doesn't, it needs to be fixed quickly. And the first thing about reliability is how do you actually deal with system updates? No one wants to get a system update when they're in the middle of an experience. That can be incredibly painful, and imagine if you only have 10 minutes to train an employee on an average sitting, getting a system update that could take longer than 10 minutes would be problematic. With the Oculus for Business solution, you'll be able to toggle on and off system updates automatically. And so you can choose times when you want to have them actually deploy versus when you want to just be able to be carefree and know that a system update is not going to interrupt your experience. That's the level of control that we think is very important. Now, the other bit, when we talk about giving customers control over their headsets, is giving them control over their data. And one very important piece about data is that the customer should own data. And that's something that we think is very important. And we've learned a lot of lessons about how to actually provide that level of control from our sister company, Workplace, who has made great strides in understanding how to support enterprise environments and actually provide this level of control to customers. So let's talk about customer support, because again, if it doesn't work, that's okay, as long as it's fixed quickly. Now, the first thing about customer support is that we've created an extended warranty of 24 months. The second thing is we have rapid device exchange. That means that if it's not working on site, just give us a call, we'll ship you out a new one, and you send us back the old one whenever you get a chance. And the last piece of this is that we want to make sure that it's easy for you to get in touch with us. You can do so with chat or email, or give us a call on the phone, and we can get you a new device or help you troubleshoot a problem. So we've gone through the three pillars here, and we have the device setup and management. We also have a business user experience that is set up and designed specifically for enterprise use cases. And finally, we have enterprise-grade customer support. And all three of those things come in two packages. One, the Oculus Go device, and the other, Oculus Quest. That way, you have the flexibility to purchase the devices you need to make sure that your experiences work the way you want them to. Both are available in the Oculus for Business program. You can get Oculus Go for $599 MSRP, and you can get Oculus Quest for $999 MSRP, both of which include 1 year of the software that I just walked through. So now that we've walked through the Oculus for Business solution, I want to bring Isabel back up to talk about what's next.
Doesn't that sound awesome? We have been really excited to do this work. We're really trying to solve what friction people are feeling as companies are trying to adopt VR. What we see today and what we showed you, these products are just the launch that we're starting with. Our hope is to make this entire journey easier for everyone involved. So I want to talk to you about two programs that we're setting up now. The first is our channel partner network. And the second we announced on stage is our ISV program. So let's start with channel partners. Our brand new software and support is a really big part of the solution. But this doesn't work unless you can get the hardware to your customers. Say, for example, that you've identified a potential Global 2000 customer. The truth is, these companies purchase hardware and their software in a very predictable way. They work with resellers like CDW and SHI, and with distributors such as Tech Data, Synex, and Exertis. The more that we can fit into this workflow, the easier that decision to adopt VR becomes. So we're really happy to announce that next year we'll be enabling the network of select highly capable channel partners to work with us. We will be building out this network and continuing to expand it so that people can get the hardware as quickly as possible, and the decision for the business owners, the IT administrators, and everyone along the way is as easy as it can be. We will be where our customers want us to be. And while we want to get more companies to purchase hardware more easily, yes, we also know that they need to be connected to the right software solutions to deploy on this hardware. It's not the hardware alone. And so we are very excited to announce the Oculus ISV program. This is a program that's going to work with enterprise developers and independent software vendors to accelerate customer adoption. Now, to qualify, we're looking for enterprise solution providers who design, develop, and deploy commercial VR solutions that are made for Oculus hardware. They have piloted or deployed with at least one Global 2000 customer, and we really love it if they're focused on VR training, simulation, or collaboration. We're looking for those VR superpowers. Now, if you fit this criteria, this is what you'll get. You'll have the opportunity to get access to resources that will help you scale. You're going to get go-to-market guidance to make sure that you're approaching yourselves in the right way. You're also going to get access to our technical experts who are going to help you do two things. They're going to help you troubleshoot if you get any software issues, but they're also going to work with you to improve upon what you've built. And lastly, you'll be able to provide feedback and requests that will help inform our product roadmap. I'm very excited about that last part. So the way to apply for the ISV program is to go to oculus.com/business, and in the navigation bar, you will see a way to apply for the program. Those are the two programs we want to tell you about today. As Maria said this morning, Oculus for Business is in closed beta now, and we are almost there. We're launching November 2019. That's really just the beginning of our own journey. We're going to be putting out ongoing improvements going forward, and we're really excited about that. We can't wait to see where this journey takes us all together. So to find out more, here's our website. But since you are here in person, you get to come meet the team. We really want to talk to all of you. There is a giant Oculus for Business zone. If you haven't been to it, please do. We have our hand tracking demo that you saw Matt show you earlier. We also have great Oculus Quest and Oculus Go demos that you can try out. And we have a sales and a partnership desk where they can talk to you about the programs that we just talked about. Later today, we'll have a panel on how to run a successful pilot for this journey that we talked about. You're also going to have a chance to hear from us and some of our partners for transforming corporate training, what they have seen in their own companies. And tomorrow, we're going to help you think about how you're designing your research to get those KPIs that are going to help you move along. If you're not too tired from all of that, 5 o'clock today, or 5:15, I was told, we're running a little late, Hilton. Our team is going to be there, and we're having a happy hour. So you are all invited. No one else except everyone in this room. Just kidding, tell anyone. It's been really awesome talking to you today. Matt and myself will be in the speaker pavilion, which is the outside balcony, if you have any questions. And that's it for today. Fill out our survey is something I'm supposed to say. Thank you, everyone.